yesterday. Not only did I make them laugh with my French stroke Glaswegian accent, but there were two parts of my work in progress that I read out that cracked them up. One was the warlord chieftain had his long black hair tied back with his blue sparkly eyes. Because I missed some sort of punctuation out there. And the other one was that the protagonist was riding down a hill on a gently swaying donkey, arrived at the chieftain's village. He ran his eyes along the line of donkeys until he met mine. So the ladies were a little bit confused that I'd taken up shape-shifting and become a donkey as well as...
Yes, or it could mean until he met my donkey.
Yeah.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Bonjour.
Hello, how are you?
Très bien, merci.
Good. I don't know why you've suddenly gone French, given that you're in Greece. You're just being weird now, aren't you?
All will become apparent as we go through.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do then is tell us about your week.
Okay, I have been feeling much better. Oh my God, it's like being reborn, isn't it, when you've been sick and then you're better again?
Yeah.
And I've had a very nice week. I've been out lots this week. I can't remember why we went out Tuesday. We went out Wednesday lunchtime, went out Wednesday evening. I was out at the weekend once, I think. And I've had a very nice time. The village is quiet as the grave, but all the expats are coming out of their houses and they're sunbathing mode and they're getting all partying up now. And what else has happened? We had, oh my God, we had the funniest day yesterday. We're trying to get back to our Write Club Classic, you know, when we get together and do sort of workshops and learn things and write things. And there's a thing we do called the free write, which gets us all going. So we had the topic this week was fetish, which drew out from very interesting stories from all concerned, but they were all very different. And then we did a really nice exercise where we were given 3 paintings, photocopies of 3 paintings, and we had to pick a painting. And then the person leading the workshop asked 12 questions about the painting. And we all ended up writing some really nice short stories. And again, they were all very different, but this will make you laugh. It was a painting by Edward Hopper. Do you know Edward Hopper?
I do.
Well, he's one of the American realists, and he's supposed to be one of the most important painters in America in the 20th century. But I didn't know he was American. I didn't know the picture I was looking at was in America. I thought it was in Paris. And so I wrote my entire story around Fleuret, who is a dancer at the Folies Bergère and who aspires to be a writer and a poet, and she hangs out in this cafe in Montmartre. And it's the Edward Hopper painting of the lady with the cloche hat. And she's just sitting nursing a coffee in a cafe and turned out to be a diner after all. So it made everybody laugh a lot, especially when I broke into a French accent at the end, which they said was tinged with Glaswegian. Not known for my language skills.
I'm writing here Paris/Glasgow. All our artists that listen will be laughing at this, won't they?
And I've actually, if anyone really wants to hear it, especially with the funny ending, I've actually made a little video because one of our Write Club ladies wasn't there. So and they, honestly, we were just crying with laughter. It went on for hours. We couldn't stop laughing. And they made me repeat it 3 times as well. So Pat wasn't there. She didn't hear it. So I made a little video for her so she couldn't miss out. That's it, really. It's all been quite creative and quite quiet, but with lots of going out for dinner.
Creative and quiet is always good, and you quite like going out to dinner a lot as well, don't you?
I do, because the food here is, I mean, you honestly get a fantastic 2-course meal with, you know, all the wine you can drink for €15. It's mental not to.
Mm. Right, shall I tell you about my week?
Yes, hopefully it's a bit more orientated.
Well, like you, by Sunday or Monday I was feeling much better. Sunday was day 9, so I certainly am not 100% now, and tomorrow will be day 14. But I was feeling much better to do things like, quite a lot of busy jobs around the house, and then a little spreadsheeting, which always makes a girl feel better.
Oh, yeah.
But I booked professional cleaners for Tuesday, which was 2 days ago. And, oh, God, I can't tell you how much better it is here now. And I feel as though I'm safer because I think I got my bug from the house. I don't think I left the house. I don't think I could have got it from anywhere else. Anyway, I'm clean. And on Monday morning, Eric fixed Outlook after a week, so I'm back to nearly normal service of 100%. And actually, I would say that during the last 2 weeks, my life hasn't been much fun, and my business suffers in those circumstances. You know, your business and your life. Neither of them been much fun because they're all interconnected, aren't they? And if you don't feel good, I've sort of been only really doing the work I had to do.
Yeah, bare minimum viable tasks.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's interesting, this one, isn't it? Because the first thing Sarah does when she goes into a new house is clean it from top to bottom. So I think everyone must have, and if anyone came to my house, the only reason my house would be livable in for someone else is because I employ a professional cleaner, because I'm rubbish at it.
I wouldn't say the house was dirty. What I mean by that is if I leave it in the same state that I acquired it in, I won't be ashamed. Because actually when you live in your own sort of mild dust, the odd crumb and some spot you mean to get off the carpet, at least you know what it is. It's other people's that you don't know what it is.
Yes, you worry.
Well, kind of. I don't think if it hadn't made me ill or if I hadn't been ill, I wouldn't have worried.
Yeah, no, that's good. And Sarah always aims to leave places better than she finds them. So that's...
Yeah, that was something my mother did as well. And it was because we moved house in the Royal Marines every year, you get very good at that. And you should see me on holiday. I insist on leaving a holiday home, at least as good as I found it as well. And the thing that's worrying me in this house slightly is because it's quite busy, i.e. full.
Lots of stuff.
And I haven't really unpacked yet. I'm slightly worried about unpacking because I'm worried about my stuff getting lost in their stuff if I don't, have it fenced in a funny sort of a way.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, I know, because I totally understand what you're saying, because you could your eyes could sweep across a room.
Right. And actually that's the first. At all the other places I've stayed, and I realise why, it's because I've brought everything here, whereas the other ones I was just there for a week and 2 weeks. And you don't have to take everything. Sorry?
I've got a great idea for you, which involves a spreadsheet.
Oh, what? Of stuff?
Of your own stuff.
Well, I think I've got it all in the living room, which I never really use. I don't understand what a living room's for if you live by yourself. It's just bizarre. I've got it all in the living room, and I'm only unpacking what I need, and I'm mainly keeping that as my repository. I think actually if it all stays in the living room unpacked for 6 months, again, it's just another reason to heave most of it. Because you're not using it, are you?
True. Yes, very true. Only take with you the things you used in the last 6 months.
Well, I think that because in Somerset I wasn't able to unpack, if you remember, I've got quite used to recycling everything within a week, and if I need to do it for 2 weeks, you just double up.
Yeah. And this is a good tip for anyone who's living in clutter and who wishes they weren't, is put everything into a box, date it, put it in the garage, and then if you haven't opened it in 6 months to a year, then just ditch the lot into a
Put it in the garage if you're a nice middle-class person who's got a garage.
Or a loft or something.
Yes.
Or under the stairs.
Yes.
Pile it up and make a table out of it and put a nice cloth over it.
Well, in effect, that's what I've got in the living room. Yes, like a block of Chinese laundry bags.
Oh, my God. What's fueled your fire this week, if anything?
No, I'm leading this call. What's fueled your fire this week, Nicola?
So while I was lying on my deathbed last week, I managed to raise my head long enough to listen to a training that my mentor, James Schramko, was holding. And he was talking about auditing your business. In that call, he encouraged people to do an audit of their business following his little checklist and come to him in his the private coaching section and tell him what you think your next action should be. So I thought, well, he's thrown that down, so why not do it? So I did. I'm usually quite good at choosing my next actions, but I gave him a list of things that I thought I should do next. And I said, go on then, what are your thoughts? And he was very good, actually, because he picked two that A, play to my strengths, and B, play to my location. So one of the things he's very keen for me to do is go and do more speaking gigs, but that's a little bit impractical when you're living in an out-of-the-way place like this. So I am doing some next March, and I'm trying to cram them all together. But two of the things he picked for me were things that played to my strength, which were to make a daily video and get it onto all the social media platforms. And he does them. He does 1-minute videos, and he batch records them. And I had, honestly, Judith, a list of excuses why I couldn't do them as long as my arm. And when I wrote them all out to send, before I pressed send, I thought, these are just excuses. So I didn't press send. I sent a thing back saying, look, I had a list of reasons I couldn't do this, but they're excuses, so I'm going to do it. And as soon as I felt better, I sat in front of the camera and I recorded. And it's funny a minute. I had to set a timer because it simultaneously feels longer and shorter than you think it's going to be. But you can actually get quite a good nugget of information into a minute. So I recorded 7 and then I batch processed them, edited, put the thing on the end, the ident at the end, uploaded them to YouTube, got the rev captions done, uploaded the first one to Facebook, my Facebook page, then scheduled the rest. And then I started sharing across other social media platforms and doing it in batching. It was quite good. But by the end of the first 7, I was thinking, who can I delegate this to? So that's a good thing. Whenever you're thinking in your business, I don't want to do this, think about who can I give this to? And it's going rather well. So I've given it all to Sarah. I just have to record them and edit them now and then upload them into a folder, and she takes them from there. And I really astonished myself with how positive I felt about it. I think I was giving off a good energy because I attracted a new client, an annual client, who is an old client, but who saw one of the videos and was reminded of me and came back and joined up. And the other thing it's done is it's doubled my traffic to my website within 3 days. I can see the difference in my analytics already. Good. So that's really good. So I encourage other people to have a go at that. And it's not so bad if you batch it.
And the other thing he wanted you to do?
What was the other thing? I can't remember. Oh, restart my vzine.
Okay.
Because we've had some conversations about whether it was worth doing or not, because it didn't seem to have very high viewer numbers. But again, I think it was bringing a really good quality of visitor to my site who knew me, liked me and trusted me, and who knew what I was offering. So I restarted that this week, and I think Phoebe quite enjoyed doing it, but it was a challenge to get my waffle down under 10 minutes. So yeah, feeling very positive about all that.
Good. So I'll tell you what's fueled my fire. The biggest impact really has been the same as number 1, which is getting better because you feel more like it. But there were a couple of surprise wins in my Baggy Trousers Low Carb group yesterday. Oh. And when they're not doing it, they all go a bit quiet. And I try and winkle them out. How's it going? Are you on? Are you off? Do you need a hand back on? And nobody's responded. It was all very quiet. But then yesterday, and I don't think this is an accident, it's very woo-woo, but I rededicated myself yesterday after the ginger nuts and Lucozade high carb solution to the bug. Yesterday was the first day I thought, I think I could eat protein and meat and veg and things again today. So I had a nice clean delivery of food, having had the fridge cleaned out, and I was well stocked. I thought I'll start again. And I, without a word of a lie, within seconds of me rededicating myself and starting again, 2 people, first one and then a second one, emailed into the group. The first person said, "Thank you so much, Judith. I've achieved a normal BMI." I don't really believe in BMIs, but that was her measurement, and she's achieved it. And this, the Baggy Trousers group only started in September. So September, October, and the first half of November. And she's a person who loves to cook. And she'd felt a lot of frustration in that time that perhaps things weren't moving as fast as other people, or weren't moving at all, or this isn't working. Well, yesterday she achieved the thing that she really wanted. And the other one wrote in to say within the, and I was just, while I was sitting here going, wow, I don't think that's an accident that came in the day that I'm going first again. Do you know what I mean? Leading from the front in an energetic way. Yeah. Then another person came in and said, I just got back from a carbolicious holiday and I couldn't wait to get back to my low carb faves, which is, I don't think something she would have thought of or even said in August.
Yeah.
So 2 great results. And I'm rededicating myself in what I call a pre-Christmas push, because it's the 15th of November today, which means we've got a month and 10 days at recording date. Still a month on the day people will be able to listen to this. And I always think anything of any nature that you get done before Christmas and the New Year, you never regret, because you're stealing a march on New Year's resolutions, which to my mind never work. And every day is a good day to prioritise your health.
It is. I mean, I eat well at home. I cook for myself, and I've just started having a banana a day and for breakfast, even though I wasn't having breakfast because I don't really need breakfast till lunchtime. But I started eating a banana a day, because it felt nice and clean after the sickness, like you say.
Yeah.
Funny, isn't it, how you crave clean food?
Yes.
When you've been ill, and also because it's very good in potassium, so it helps prevent heart attacks and strokes. I know it's high carb though, so I eat it on its own, which gives the food combiners will know that gives it the best chance of being digested properly without mixing it with anything else.
It's certainly not a bad way to begin a day.
No, I don't think so. And but the rest of the time, I don't eat bread at home. I don't eat potatoes. I only occasionally have brown rice. So I am trying to go low carb as much as I can. So it's interesting you mentioned energy there as well, because that's exactly what I felt about committing to do these videos. Shifted my energy around my business, and literally within 3 days a new client signed up.
Well, it is energy. Excuse me. It's intention as well, which is, and it used to happen in my accounting office, which was if I was away on holiday, it would all go a bit quiet. But if I went in and started making phone calls and getting the file out and sending emails, the thing would go mad. It's the energetic response. It's like call and response, the energetic response to what we put out, isn't it?
Yes, I think you change your vibrations go off. It's all synchronicity stuff, isn't it?
It is a bit. So let's flag it as an LOA thing then.
Law of attraction again. Ooh.
Yeah. I do think it is that. And I think where my clients lose heart is where they think in the first year that they're doing that, but they're not getting a response to their call.
Yeah. Yeah, they just don't realise it takes a while for the vibration to come
exactly.
back.
Bit of a lead until you've got enough people seeing it in the first place. Now, let us move on, caller, to Focus of the Week, which is another one that I've chosen and I've tipped you the wink on. So I'll do what I said, and I'll read you the lead in, then I'll let you take over because it's slightly more your specialist subject than mine. So something that we could discuss almost every week is the internet/social media. Is it a force for good or evil? And I've read recently, and I mentioned to you last week, I think, or maybe the week before, that Tim Berners-Lee, the man that invented it, gave it to the world. So no profit for him. That was his choice. And he's sad that we've allowed it to be is manipulated for profit by the bigger players, crowding out the more innocent, connecting usage that he had in mind, so that we'd all be able to work together in an open source, free, abundant way to be not like a bucket of mushrooms where you're under the stairs and in the dark and operating alone and they throw a bucket over you every now and again, but that we'd be strong in our interconnectedness through this free resource. But it, of course, hasn't gone that way. But I've read that he's inventing a new version so we can start over. But what I thought we would do was look at some pros and cons of the internet. You remember that wonderful scene in Monty Python, what has the internet ever done for us? It wasn't that. It was what have the Romans ever done for us? Well, apart from roads and sanitation. I thought we'd play that game. And, the Arab Spring is a good example of...
I knew nothing about that. Go on.
Did you Google it?
No, I haven't had time, but go on.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to explain it now. But basically, social uprisings in countries where they have oppressive regimes, where the word is going out to the wider world, not through mainstream media channels, so that we all know what's really going on in their country, not what their government wants us to think is going on in their country. That's a good use of the internet. But I'm going to give you 3 examples and I'm going to let you take over. So except for my immediate family and friends I've had since school, everyone I know who's important to me now, everyone I met online. And the cons of that, if you're not a strong, robust person, so as long as you're not lonely or vulnerable and old, the con of that is the creepy types that try and get you to become their friend, the men dressed up in army uniforms and this recent horrible thing where people have been told they've been caught watching porn unless they send, you had it, I had it. If you were lonely or vulnerable old, you could easily fall for that, I think. If you didn't have a nice habit. Well, I was going to say, if you didn't have a nice habit of immediately checking things like that with the internet, you might think they were real, apart from the fact that I haven't been on a porn site. But when it comes in with your password, I think that's quite spooky. You've got to be quite savvy, haven't you, not to fall for some of the, I'm not lonely or vulnerable or old, but I'm headed towards old. So it's possible I might get stupider. Anyway, so that's the pros and cons of, connecting up with people. My first business which I sold in 1997, we did have the internet then, but not much really, was grown in real life, and it still operates in that world. So the two owners of it are people who like people to pop round. And my current business operates entirely online in every sense. Yesterday I spoke to somebody in Mumbai, for instance. So I've got virtual clients all around the world, all drawn to me via the internet and social media. So this business I have now would not be possible if the internet didn't exist. So I have to negotiate the sides of it I don't like very much. And they are the number of sides I don't like very much is growing. But I couldn't see any downside to this, except for the fact that many of my clients, if you cut the wealth dynamic square down the middle, all the ones on the right-hand side, find it isolating. Yeah. And yesterday I spoke to my supporter client who wanted to refer another client to me, and I said, what's her wealth profile? She said, she's probably like me. And I said, look, remember the difficulties we had at the beginning when you wanted to keep meeting up? I'm not ideal. I'm not an ideal person to work with supporters. I'm ideal to work with people in Mumbai and New Zealand who can't get the help they need by leaving the house. So I wouldn't have a business but for the internet, absolutely sure about that. But when you taught me how to do that in 2003, the internet was a softer kind of place, I think. Now it often feels rather daggy to me. But my third one is networks. I love collecting people and introducing them to each other for mutual benefit. And that was something I did in real life in my first business. And it's something I'm still able to do 100% online, because you know all of these people, whether you've worked with them or befriended them, you know them and you can recommend people to them. Do you know Janet Murray, the lady that does the PR? I said this to you last week. I'm not in her group. Lots of my clients are in her group. A new client I had came because somebody mentioned me in that group. So, the ripples of networking online contacts, they go far. I mean, your mentor, there we go, Australian, isn't he? Yeah, and you've traveled the world, I think, as a result of that. So again, I think the only con here is for those people that crave the get-togethers. I think the internet is bad for some people, and of course it keeps us sitting down in the main as well. Now, here's my little run through various other cons. Trolling, which is horrid. I think making especially young people, like, say, Phoebe and Chloe, feel insecure about themselves. And then older people, people of all ages, my clients, they do comparisonitis because people are putting out some version of the truth on the internet and they're comparing themselves with it. I've put here knowing stuff I would prefer I didn't know. So, it's difficult sometimes to hide from horrid things. How people through the internet can be manipulated by people with better resources. So the people that have huge advertising budgets can trick us into believing fake news, scams, cons, and spam, and so forth. So what I want to get around to talking today is how can we protect ourselves, our businesses, and those we care about. And for me, more and better regulation is not the answer, because things like VATMOS and GDPR just threaten and worry us, but we're not the real culprits. And my question for you is, and yours are too old now, but if I were a parent, and I can think of lots of listeners who've got little ones, how strict would I be about what my kids could see and how long they could be online, and how old is old enough and how old is too old, really, so that you need to be protected from the harsher elements of life which are very visible online. That is just 5 minutes off the top of my head about the pros and cons of the internet and social media. Over to you, Nicola. More your arena than mine, because you love it even more, don't you?
Well, where do I start, really? The overall theme of this, it really highlights my... Well, you're an optimist of criminal proportions. Yeah. I'm more so. And I was talking yesterday about pessimism and optimism to someone, and I was trying to explain that the people who are pessimists use language that is permanent, personal, and pervasive. Words like always and everyone. And that first sort of few minutes of you talking about the internet, Tim Berners-Lee, all the things you said that were bad about it, that he said were bad about it, are also good about it. All the things that he invented it for are still happening, and the Arab Spring thing just highlights that. I think the internet is exactly what you choose to make it, is exactly what you choose to look for things on. You can curate your feed so that you don't see things you're upset about and that upset you. I never see anything horrible on Facebook. I curate my feed fiercely. And with the kids, I was totally, the other thing is, there's nothing on the internet that hasn't existed before the internet. So, okay, so you can see porn on the internet. Yeah, you have to look quite hard, actually. It's not as easy to be found as it might be. But the other thing was, we used to be exposed to magazines that our parents had bought and hidden not well enough and things like that. So I don't think there was anything that exists on the internet that didn't exist before. It was just perhaps a little bit more difficult to find. I think a lot of people have a wealth of info at their fingertips. I mean, for example, illness. People who get sick are not now at the mercy of what the doctors choose to tell them. They can go off and research their own thing. And, of course, that's a good and bad thing as well, because you can convince yourself quite easily that you've got a horrible disease when you've got a symptom, whereas actually it was just indigestion, perhaps. But, yeah, and the other benefit of the internet, I mean, apart from the thing, that we met through the internet. Everyone I know, apart from my family, I've met through the internet. It makes it possible to live anywhere in the world and earn a living. I mean, I see every day a Greek young people problem where there's no jobs apart from working in cafes or bars. There are people with double degrees working as a barman. He's got a language degree and he's got a philosophy degree. He went to the University of Sofia in Bulgaria. He speaks Bulgarian, he speaks Greek, he speaks English. He's the most incredibly positive, energetic young man I've come across for a long time. And he has to work as a barman. And he's a blooming good barman. And he's a blooming good waiter because he's a really intelligent chap. But he cannot earn a living in his hometown because nobody here considers that they could make a living on the internet because it's just not widely known that you can do that. And so it is, I think it's an incredible force for good, but people are scared of it still. And I think they don't need to be. They just need to take responsibility for their own safety and their own viewing pleasure or displeasure or whatever. Having said that, there are terrible things that happen, trolling and bullying. But bullying's gone on, over the years and trolling, people used to put letters through people's letterboxes. So, there's nothing new under the sun, is there? And what else? Young people. Well, I made a very conscious decision when the children were young that we would let them go online. We would let them. I mean, I've got a fabulous video of Nelson when he was 5 telling people how to get to the next level in RuneScape, which I'm going to trot out at his wedding. But I made a real conscious decision that if they were interested in anything online or passionate about anything, I would encourage them to the hilt because I could see it was the future. And there's no point putting your head in the sand and saying, no, this has got some bad things about it, so I don't want to use it. It's which I'm not saying you are, by the way. I'm just saying some people do that. This whole I'm not on Facebook anymore. Well, none of them are. None of the kids are on any of them anymore. I have to beg for pictures of my children because they're not even putting stuff on Instagram stories anymore. They're off having a real life. So I don't think it goes through phases. I think there's phases where the kids find something new, then the grown-ups come along and ruin it, and the kids move on to the next thing. And the thing that they're all doing at the moment, they're not spending any time online. They're not putting any pictures of themselves online. They're just using chat. They use the internet for group chats to keep in touch with their friendship group. So I don't have any worries about any of them. They've never compared themselves to other people online as far as I can see. They've never had that problem, whether that's because they've grown up in a family that loves them and makes them feel self-esteem is fine. I mean, I don't know if they were not quite as attractive. I don't know if they might have had more problems, in which case we would have had those conversations. But I don't know, I just think that the pros so far outweigh the cons. I think the cons have got to be 10% and the pros have got to be 90%. But I do acknowledge all the things you've said about it being. But I think your general outlook on life is going to dictate how you approach this. And if you're optimistic and outgoing and positive and you believe it's a good thing and a force for good and that anyone can get any information they want and governments can't. The one thing I wrote down here right at the end, it's getting very hard to hide badness. If you're a bad person doing bad things, it's getting very hard to hide that because people will whistleblow you online. And it's, a lot of things have come out, haven't they? Because people cannot shut everybody up all the time. And they used to be able to in the olden days because there was no way of disseminating information freely and quickly.
Too many holes to put your finger in, not enough fingers.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's going to come out eventually.
I think I am an optimist. I think I would make my ratio much more 50-50, possibly even 60-40 in the wrong direction. What I'd like to hear in the group from anybody listening is any thoughts and observations that they have on this. What's coloured your view of the internet? Is it a force for good or a force for evil? What would your ratio be? What is the one bugbear that you have, if anything? Yeah, I mean, it's not going to go away, is it? Well, the most encouraging thing that you've said just now to me is that the kids aren't really on it anymore. It's also the disappointment that clever man in stupor can't set up his own business and earn a living from there.
Well, I suspect he's a star supporter profile.
I agree. A people person. I totally agree. Yeah,
he very much is. I mean, everybody loves him. He's, but
actually, if you wanted to earn a living in a remote-ish place, I'd put that aside and get online, wouldn't you?
Oh, totally, yes, because there is super fast broadband here. Okay, so it goes off when there's a power problem, but it comes back on again quite quickly, and it's on 98% of the time. So, but the problem is that people don't know that that's possible. Still, in places like this, they don't know that's possible.
So should you be an evangelist and do a talk?
Oh, I often think about that. But the one thing I don't want to do is to raise my... Because they get... If they think you're earning money here...
Yes.
The Greek bureaucracy is unreal. I mean, it's unreal.
Yeah, okay.
And if they've got a sniff of anyone... actually earning money in the country when you shouldn't do, they would be all over
I've got you. Yeah.
So I don't want to put my head above the parapet. I am getting known as someone who you can ask questions of about this sort of stuff. So I would say, I don't want lots of people who I couldn't charge a decent amount of money to because they're my local friends. I don't want that. I want to earn a good amount of money helping people with businesses around the world, and then my time off here is my time off.
I was just thinking of one talk to enlighten the youngsters that can't get to work about.
Look at my own. It's like the prophet isn't heard in his own home, is he? I mean, youngsters I know that know I do this, and they still don't come to me and ask me.
Well, you've sort of explained why, though, haven't you? You said they're not in it. They're out in the real world. Yes,
which is it's they'll come to it if they want it, and they know where to come. But in the meantime, a lot of them are out there doing minimum wage jobs and going to university and doing all the stuff that people have always done. Hey,
I don't think I ever did a minimum wage job. Did you?
Oh yeah, I've done loads of waitressing and bar work and stuff. I didn't. It took me a long time until it took me to my mid-30s to late 30s to start learning about wealth creation and changing my long-held negative and limiting beliefs about money. It's really.
I think two things that you put in your list that I forgot to include in mine, which I really like, are. I use Dr. Google for everything. I don't have a doctor. So Dr. Google solves everything for me. And I like that, actually. And I don't catastrophize. What did I see? Somebody posted something this week that said, if you've got this, then you're going to get that. And I went, I don't believe that, and moved on. Yeah. But the point you made there, which unites us both, actually, is that you can live anywhere in the world and make a living.
Yeah, you're totally location independent now.
Yeah.
One can be.
Yeah.
And even if you're not right now, there is a way to make most businesses location independent. And if your business or your interests or your hobbies or whatever are not location independent, there are lots of other ones out there that are. So you could find something. I really believe that. But people, it's hard work and it's not easy, and it requires a degree of dedication and grit and determination, doesn't it?
I certainly wouldn't rather do a minimum wage job than use the internet. But as I've said before on this show, I do regret how city downy my career has been. So I quite envy, I want the next phase of my career to be, not getting out and about and meeting people, but not sitting down so much.
Yeah. Well, see, this is why I'm trying to systemize my marketing. Because in the summer, when I had to record my vzine once a week, and everything flowed from that. I don't blog anymore. My city downy time in the summer is minuscule. It's I'm finished by 12 and I'm off out down the beach. In the winter, it's a bit different because I've got not much else to do except my hobbies, which are now writing, which involves sitting down.
Yes, I know.
But I am trying to limit it, and I'm trying to make it so that I'm buying myself a Fitbit for Christmas, because as we know, what you measure increases. And I think I'll frighten myself by how few steps I take, especially now I've got the car. So I think I will then end up joining people on their hikes up and down mountains and round the little tracks and everything, because there's quite a lot of walking goes on here. So I think, that would be quite a good thing for me to do.
And will you need special equipment for that, like boots?
Well, I think one would need some quite stout boots, yes.
They're amazing walking boots because they're very heavy. But the next day after you've done a hike, your feet are completely unblemished by the hike.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't wear them for most of the year here because it's too hot, of course. Yeah. But we are definitely now, the temperature's plummeted this week to 18 degrees. So everyone's got their cardies out now, and the Greeks have had their anoraks on for a while.
Well, I've got the windows open today because it's 16 and that feels hot here. Now, anything else you want to say about the internet before we move on?
No, I think it's a marvellous thing, and God knows what my life would have been like without it. I can't imagine.
Certainly my life would be very different. I'm gone over the top with it. It's a marvellous thing, and I'm coming down the other side a bit, but that's okay. Now, tell me what your word of the week is.
Punctuation. Because the week started with sharing a post from a newspaper headline that was...
the one about the hand job.
Yes. Get first, I can't remember how it worked, but it was lacking a hyphen. And the reason that tickled me particularly is because I never use hyphens, and Grammarly is teaching me that I should use hyphens more often. And in our Write Club thing yesterday, not only did I make them laugh with my French stroke Glaswegian accent, but there were two parts of my work in progress that I read out that cracked them up. One was that the warlord chieftain had his long black hair tied back with his blue sparkly eyes. Because I missed some sort of punctuation out there. And the other one was that the protagonist was riding down a hill on a gently swaying donkey, arrived at the chieftain's village. He ran his eyes along the line of donkeys until he met mine. So the ladies were a little bit confused that I'd taken up shape-shifting and become a donkey as well as...
Yes, or it could mean until he met my donkey. Now, I like to debate a hyphen with Grammarly. In fact, before you this morning, I was using the expression the C word to mean Christmas, and Grammarly wanted me to put a hyphen between C and word. I did, but I wouldn't normally. I don't think that's right. I think Grammarly's quite a bully, and sometimes it's just easier to say yes.
I don't think you have to acquiesce to it.
No, you don't have to, but you have to. The little word ignore is in very small grey writing underneath. Sometimes it's easy to say, oh, go on then. But I don't think the C word, as in Christmas, needs a hyphen. And Grammarly does.
Yeah, it depends if you're capitalising it, I suppose. Inverted commas?
No. I never like inverted commas unless somebody's actually saying something.
Oh, right, okay.
Now, my word of the week is discernment, because given our focus of the week about the internet, I think that's the point. An adult must use it with discernment.
Yeah. And children don't have discernment, so it's up to you, isn't it, what they do. But don't stifle them too much, because they are going to have to learn how to use it. There's no escaping it, so... Right, now, do you have updates on projects you would like to put into the next section? I do have one, which is that I'm on a massive LinkedIn cull. I'm going from over 5,600 contacts, none of whom I know very well, to people I just know. And the way I'm doing that is by every day going into LinkedIn and right-clicking on anyone who's shared anything on my time, who I see in my timeline. Because I figure if I get rid of the people that post a lot of junk first, then I'll come down to seeing things from people I know and like quicker, rather than just going through them in alphabetical order in my networks list. And the reason I did this, because I had a really good conversation with Tracy Barnett, who lives in hang on, where does she live? Valencia. And she was a bit of a LinkedIn expert, and she was giving me a run through on her new service. So if anyone wants to learn how to use LinkedIn better, give me a shout, drop me an email, and I'll put you in touch with Tracy, because she gave me some really good tips. So I'm taking my LinkedIn contacts back down to a meaningful number of people I actually know.
Well, I came off LinkedIn quite a long time ago. Never regretted it. Excuse me. But this week, very annoyingly, I've had 2 emails from people saying, well, from LinkedIn, saying so-and-so and so-and-so are still waiting for you to accept their friend request. Well, if you haven't got an account, how can that even happen?
Well, because they don't get rid of your account. They just keep it as dormant, don't they? In case you change.
Yeah, but nobody should be able to contact me from there.
No, that's true. Perhaps they're fake emails.
No, I don't think they are. But of course, I can't do anything to stop them because I'd have to be able to log in to do that.
Yes,
so all I can do is delete. Very annoying.
Yeah, it is annoying. But I'm not. I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to love LinkedIn, but it is getting more like Facebook. So I thought it was worth just trying to sort it out and see if I can make it more fun to use.
Are you aware that you've ever had a client from it?
Not really, but since I started posting my videos on it, I think I need to pay it a bit more attention. Because you're not going to get anything back from something unless you give it a bit of
love.
Yeah.
So my project updates are almost nothing. My diary is very quiet. I'm only 2 weeks away from December where I don't do any one-to-one coaching, and I can already feel my year is, I think perhaps provoked by the bug, is sort of trickling downhill. I can only see things getting quieter and quieter, which is quite good for me actually, because it's felt at times, 2018 has felt like a really hard year.
Yeah, because you've done a lot of moving, haven't you?
I've done a lot of moving, and then the bug and some, quite difficult matters to deal with. I'm creeping downhill, and I'm not sad about that.
Well, I'll keep up the energy for both of us then, because I fully intend to charge. I'm totally ignoring Christmas. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's so far off on the horizon, I'm not even thinking about it. Although I have my flights booked to England.
Just remind me of the date of you fly to England.
19th, and I come back on the 5th.
Yes, okay, all right. So you've got, is that 10?
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks, okay.
Oh, no, God knows what I'll do.
And do you have any plans for it?
Yes, I'm not going to work. I'm going to get everything done in advance, and I'm going to read and write. Okay. And go to lots of movies with Phoebe.
Okay.
And sit on the sofa with my daughter and watch.
And where are you staying?
Irving's. He's very kindly given up his bed.
He's a saint, that man.
I know.
He's a saint. I mean, let's play a game. Let's play another game. Who on earth would you give up your bed for?
Your ex-wife, obviously.
I can't think of a single person on planet Earth I would give up my bed for.
Well, to be fair, his girlfriend's is much nicer.
Well, I was thinking maybe if somebody got that bug you and I've just had, and I was better, and they were staying with me, and they were on the sofa, I might swap.
But I really, if Heineken did ex-husbands, then Irving would be one.
Yes, and that's a lovely thing to be able to say about your ex-husband, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. The old what's it on my thing with my children on the side here.
Say that again.
I've even got a picture of the old what's it on I've got a threesome picture of the kids and Irving on the side here.
Well, I always loved Irving, as you know, from the minute he picked up my suitcase and carried it to my room in the Acacia. But of course, I wasn't married to him and didn't have to live with him, or vice versa. Now, tell me who or what has impressed you this week.
Oh, I've got 3 things actually this week.
Oh, good. I've only got one. You go.
Okay, I've been watching a really good new drama called Dark Heart, which is it's written by Chris Lang, who wrote Unforgotten, which is that really nice detective series where they uncover cold cases. It's got Nicola Walker in it. And
yes, I know. Yes, good one. Yeah.
I can't think who that is. Sanjeet something?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. It just popped into my head.
Yes, although that may be his name in the show, but it doesn't matter. We know who you mean.
Yeah. And it's starring a really nice new actor, well, new to me, called Tom Riley. Now, he's not bad looking, but he's not, a beefcake, but he's a very, very compelling watch. And I think that must be the quality of his acting that's making him so compelling. Tom Riley, I like him a lot in Dark Heart. And the other thing is, you haven't been watching X Factor, but I obviously am gripped to it as always. There is a young chap on it called Dalton Harris, and Dalton Harris is from Trinidad and Tobago, I think. He's a good-looking boy, and he's got absolute voice to die for. He's, when when I shared one of the guys who sang Mariah Carey from America's Got Talent, and he was really, really unbelievable singer. Well, Dalton is nearly as good as that chap, but he's got much better range of different types of songs. Go and check him out on YouTube. Dalton Harris.
Is he the one that auditioned in the yellow suit?
No, he was fantastic as well.
Yeah, he was from somewhere like Trinidad and Tobago. I've been to Trinidad and Tobago. It's lovely.
He was. Well, Dalton might be from he's definitely from that neck of the woods. He might be from a different part of it.
Okay.
He's just came along, sang for, every single week he has blown everybody away.
Oh, is he quite tall, quite skinny, and he wears sort of biker jacket type of thing? Yes. Yes. I know who you mean, yes.
Yeah, he's unreally good. He really is. And they've got Nile Rodgers as guesting in for Robbie Williams, and he's just struck by him completely. It's
and I see the audience want to keep Nile and give Robbie the boot.
Do they? I don't know.
Yes, they do. I know you don't listen to Desert Island Disc very much, but Nile Rodgers was on recently, and it's worth you catching up with that.
Oh, God, I love Nile Rodgers. Yes, of course, I will. Lovely.
You said 3, and you've only given us 2. You've given us Dark Heart and X Factor.
2 writers, a writer and an actor, and Dalton Harris, so that counts.
You got overexcited. Okay. So mine, I know, isn't going to especially appeal to you because you're not a fan of Michael Bublé. But you know... Oh, are you? You know, do you, that his little boy Noah has been very poorly with, I think, leukemia. Is that a form of cancer?
Yes.
Anyway, Michael Bublé's had, I think, about 3 years off work while Noah was getting better. And we didn't know Noah was going to get better, obviously. But Noah is better enough. I don't know what the prognosis is really, but he's better enough so that Michael's gone back to work. And the first I knew of this was on last Friday's Graham Norton, where he sang a great old song with classic Michael Bublé cheesy moves, of which I'm not a huge fan, it must be said. But the band were fantastic. It was so good, I had to watch it on YouTube a second time over the weekend. And because I was on YouTube watching Michael Bublé on Graham Norton, YouTube said, well, you better watch Carpool Karaoke with Michael Bublé since he's got back from his career break, and that led me on to his latest album, which was the one he was plugging on Graham Norton. And then I found a song that I couldn't stop singing all weekend, and this morning Joe Dodds, one of our listeners, linked to Michael Bublé doing a duet with Barbra Streisand, which again had one of these marvellous lush stringed orchestras in the background. Michael Bublé and the way his family, he describes in Carpool Karaoke how the family handled the little boy, and something like, well, all his family, because they're Italian Canadians, all his family pulled all their children out of school and all went somewhere together. And all of them, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, parents, all focused on getting this boy back together.
Wow, how brilliant. I saw a documentary about Michael Bublé, and I really, really liked him as a person. And so I'll go and check out all
Well, he's a fun person on the chat show couch, but whether or not you like his stylings, his vocal dexterity is amazing.
He did. I think he did something on Saturday night on X Factor as well. And it was like molten chocolate.
Exactly.
Just amazing.
Exactly. It's not everybody's cup of tea. In fact, this video that Joe shared this morning I did watch it with my coffee, Michael and Barbara. Somebody underneath had said, "Oh, how could she stoop so low?" or something. I don't think Barbra Streisand thought she was stooping low. I thought she was doing an artistic, creative experiment with somebody with a slightly different vocal thing than hers, and that's a good creative experiment.
Yeah, and news of a new Bublé album that sorted Heather's Christmas present.
Well, I must say I hadn't. When I saw him plugging it, I thought no, and then when I found this song over the weekend, I thought, yes.
Can you put it on Facebook so I can enjoy it too?
I can. It's called. What do you want me to put on Facebook? Oh, what the song? I'll put the song I really like that I can't stop singing. It's a bit mushy for you, but I'm going to put it on.
I doubt it. I love a bit of schmaltz.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. See you next week.
Yes. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
How do they do it? Not a care and suffering. Wanna step into their world.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.